I'd like to give a very warm welcome to everybody. I am Jessica and I'm from Canva Design School, and I'm coming to you today from Canva Space, our newest venue here in Sydney, Australia. We're really excited to be launching a new and regular series of online and face-to-face content out of Canva Space for you, our Canva community. To find out about upcoming events, just head to canva.com/Canva-space, and I'll drop that link in the chat in a moment, to check out the live webinars section where you'll find a range of interactive content designed to empower our community to design. I'll be manning the chat and the Q&A panel today, so feel free to pop questions in there anytime during the session. And this session will be recorded. Everyone will get a link to the recording after it has finished. I'm thrilled to have Ronny here with us today, our head of communities here at Canva, to take us through how to build your online community. Over to you, Ronny.
Hi, hello everyone. Super happy to be here. Thank you, Jess, for the introduction. Welcome to Canva Space. This is my pleasure. Also my first appearance on Canva Space. I'm sure not the last one. We have a lot of content planned for you guys, and Jessica has been doing a wonderful job at putting all of this together. So thank you for this. So today we are going to talk about growing your online community. One of my favorite topics of all times, because it's kind of what got me to where I am today, building a community. So first of all, I want to welcome you all to this session. It's going to be around 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how many questions, how much engagement we have from you during the session as well. I have prepared a bunch of slides and we are going to get cracking. So before we do so, a few housekeeping announcements. I would love for you to leave questions in the chat. Jess is going to monitor all this, and I will be stopping at some regular we'll have regular stops where we can check in on the questions, and I will ask Jessica if she can bring some from the chat and the messages. So we'll do that. We'll also have a few moments. You'll see the presentation will be broken down into 6 different sections, and after each of the sections, I will kind of pass it on to you and hear it from you. So it's going to be a kind of an interactive. You can participate either by unmuting yourself and just talking, or in the comments. All right, so let's get started and start by telling you a little bit about how I ended up at Canva. So everything started really for me about 2.5 years ago with a course that I created about Canva. So you can see the thumbnail of the course here on the top of the screen. So it was a course that I decided to create for Udemy about Canva. I was not yet working at Canva, but I was I would say a power user of Canva. I had the pleasure to receive Canva Pro for free because I was running a nonprofit at the time called Fair Trade Connection. That was my job at the time. I was running this nonprofit, and I traveled around the world making videos and teaching people about digital marketing, people and organizations. That was my job. But after a few years, let's say 8 years on the road doing this, I kind of I grew a little bit tired of traveling so much and not having a base and not having, my friends and building something in terms of social relationships. So my partner and I, we decided to settle in Thailand. And from there, we kind of had to reinvent our income, our business model. We could not continue just going to India, Bangladesh, Peru, or Kenya to film more videos because we wanted stability in our life. We were sitting in this co-working space in Chiang Mai, Thailand, in the north of Thailand, kind of scratching our heads. Okay, so we know how to make videos. We know we have this knowledge about digital marketing, and we had created a few communities already. So the obvious choice for us was, let's put this knowledge that we have into online courses. So that's what we did. She decided to create a course about Instagram marketing, and I was kind of like making a list of everything I could teach about, and Canva was on top of my list. So I told her I will make a course about Canva, and she laughed. She said, nobody will buy this. Like nobody will, Canva is so easy to use. People don't need a course. And it's funny because it's what got me started. So the Canva Master course is the beginning of my story. Put that on Udemy. And at the same time, I created a Facebook group, a community that was there to kind of support the students in this course that I had created. And so you see here is the first banner of this Facebook group. The group is called Learn to Design with Canva. It started very small. And it started as a support group for the student in my course. So in that group, I started adding value. I started answering people's questions, creating tutorials as well about Canva, so free stuff. And now and then I was talking about the course, trying to sell my course, like the regular type of promotion. So that was the first step. Excuse me. A little bit down the road, Canva launched a program, a community program called the Canva Certified Creatives. So this is a program that Canva started, I believe, in 2018 for people who were power users and kind of brand ambassadors, people who were talking about Canva, creating educational material about Canva, or creating communities online about Canva. So they reached out and they said, hey, Ronny, we are starting this new project. We've noticed your community, your course, etc. We'd like to invite you to become a Canva certified creative. So I was part of the first batch of CCCs back in 2018, I think. And that's kind of like the beginning of my relationship with Canva. So from there, I got the badge CCC and I got access to the Canva team. They offered us some perks. Some swag, some t-shirts, some water bottles, and all of these goodies. But also the most importantly, they gave us credibility as Canva educators, as Canva. We were part of the Canva family with this badge. So this helped me building my community, building my courses, and strong of the success of the first course, I started other courses. So some free course like the top 10 burning questions about Canva, which is a free course, Canva for Android, etc., etc. So everything was going well. My group was growing, my courses were getting more sales. So kind of like the ideal scenario. And at this time, I received a notification. And so this notification was actually in my Facebook group. It was, when new members are joining your group, you receive these notifications from Facebook. And every day you have new members in your group. And these members have to answer 3 questions, right, to get in your group. So I noticed that Cliff Obrecht was wanting to join Learn to Design with Canva, my Facebook group. And I knew exactly who Cliff was because I of course, did my research about Canva. And Cliff is actually Melanie Perkins' husband and co-founder for Canva. So I knew exactly that Cliff was one of the co-founders of Canva. So I was like, wow, somebody like really important at Canva is trying to get in my group. And what's funny about this is that he answers the first of the 3 questions was, what's your level of expertise with Canva? And Cliff actually answered regular. So this is where I understood that Cliff was trying to get into the community kind of incognito to see who is this guy with the big Facebook group that we don't know too much about. So yeah, he joined the group. I, of course, accepted him in the community, but instead of letting him like be incognito, I did this. So I created a welcome post and I tagged him in the post saying, hey, fam, we are super honored this week to have one of the co-founders of Canva, Cliff, joining us in the group. So let's give him a warm welcome. And that's kind of putting the spotlight on him. And that was kind of a joke, but it took it very cool, and he started to engage with the people. And that was super cool. And I was like this, yeah, I made it. So I got the attention of Canva. I have one of the co-founders there, and I knew other people from Canva were also in the group. So everything was going very well. And then a few days, like maybe 2 days later, I received a notification, another notification, this time from Messenger. And that was Cliff sending me a message, very brief message saying, hey, Ronny, we love what you're doing. We would like to amplify this. Let's talk about giving you a position at Canva. So that was kind of like the beginning of my story with Canva, really, like as working for Canva. So at this time, again, like everything was going fine for me. I was doing my thing in Thailand with my courses and my business. So I wanted to know more. So Cliff was really kind and he invited me and also my partner, but she couldn't make it on time with the visa and stuff because I'm lucky enough to be a European. So it's easy to get a visa, but for someone from other countries, it might not be that easy. So unfortunately, my partner couldn't accept Cliff's invitation to travel with me from Thailand to Australia this first time. But I went to Australia. I spent an entire week in Australia. I attended Canva's season opener last year or a year and a half ago. So I gave a presentation in front of the entire company, which was super cool. I got to know Canva. I spent a few days at the office. I talked to people, and at the same time trying to decide whether or not I wanted to take this drastic decision in my life to become an employee again after 10 years of doing my own thing, moving to Australia and working for Canva. So this first visit to Canva really convinced me. This is a company I believe in. I genuinely believe in their mission. So that's what I want to do. So I went back to Thailand, packed my suitcases. Well, actually, that took a couple of months. But then we moved together to Australia and I started working at Canva as head of communities. So today, this is what I'm doing. It's my job. I'm loving it. We have been building a team of community managers. We have been growing the Canva communities, the different Facebook groups. I've been coaching also some community managers that manage these groups, and I have managed these groups myself. So yeah, I thought I would give you this little bit of context because I believe it makes me the right person to teach you about building online communities. I've done it for my own business and I'm doing it for Canva with the help of the team. So yeah, enough about me, I guess. Let's talk about building online communities, right? So at Canva, let me move to my next slide. Okay, so this one. All right, so at Canva, we are building communities and people love the content that we share in these communities. And by extension, people start loving our brand, right? If you deliver value to the users, then, and if you really genuinely care about like what they get out of this, they start to love you back. So here I have two testimonials from some of our users. Amazing, congratulations for this major milestone. That was probably when we achieved, I don't know, maybe 10,000 members or 20,000 members in the design circle. Your tutorials are fantastic, and the services, creativity, and inspiration you all provide to the members of this group is phenomenal. Thank you all for what you do. Another testimonial, I just want to say thank you as someone who jumped into running a chapter of a nonprofit headfirst. I deeply appreciate all the kindness, everything I learned here, and everyone's willingness to share. I only wish I had more time to invest on this page, learning so much. So this is really like, I chose these two, and we receive a lot of Canva love messages like these ones, but I selected these two because they focus on what they are learning from these communities. So I thought this was really important. All right, so people want to give back to people who have given to them. So when the people you're trying to serve take some time out of their busy day to let you know how much you have and you are contributing to bringing them closer to their goals, that's a great sign that your community is healthy, right? When people take time to leave your review or to really give you a testimonial like the two I just showed you, it's a really great sign. Because people want to give back to people who have given to them, who have been nice to them, who have genuinely tried to help them become more successful. So be nice to people, and this will happen. I believe the people in our communities love us and love us in like the community team, because we go above and beyond to provide value to them. We do our best on a regular basis to to be there for them. Like when our members need us to answer a technical question or to educate them about the product, about Canva, or about anything else related to design, we are here to serve and to help them. So as I was mentioning, I believe I'm the right person to teach you about community building, because prior to joining the Canva community team, I've applied some rules, some principles for my personal business, my own communities. And while building my tribe, I followed these rules. And again, when I joined Canva, I tried to bring that baggage with me to Canva and try to apply some of these rules to, this time, not a one-man business, but a multi-billion business. So that was interesting to see how some of the stuff I had learned as like a really small business could apply to a bigger business. And I noticed a lot of these community principles, like the golden rules, if you want, of building community, actually did apply. So that's kind of the work I tried to do and develop at Canva. So let's jump right into it. Maybe if there is a question about this intro, about me or anything, I'm happy to take it now before we jump right in. But what's coming is 6 rules for building a healthy community.
Great, no questions yet, but feel free to pop them in the Q&A panel if you do have any questions as we move on, and I'll raise them with Ronny.
Okay, perfect. So let me just jump right in. I will share these golden rules with you. But before I do, I just want to tell you, like, this is no secret sauce, right? There's no secret formula. There's no overnight success magic hack or something you can do to instantly become famous on social media or anything like that. That doesn't exist. So get that out of your system. If somebody is trying to sell you some type of formula, just don't fall for that, because it doesn't exist. It does take time. So that's kind of like the public service announcement. There is no magic formula. Just be aware of this. But there are some rules that work, and that's what I want to cover. All right. Rule number 1, make a positive first impression. So why is that? Well, because it is fundamental, because we live in a world where information is omnipresent. As a matter of fact, there is way more information in this world out there on the internet than we can possibly consume. So that means that in this content overload, this ocean of information, choices must be made, because it's simply impossible to consume it all. So the result of this is that everybody is competing, is fighting for your attention, for people's attention in general. Attention has become the new currency. It is what every business, every brand, every individual is after. It's your attention. So as a content creator, of course, you should understand that this is like really the fundamental principle on which everything else is relying, is that you'll have to compete to get a piece of your audience's attention. And what's particular is that you're not just competing with other people who create the same thing as you are, like in your niche. You're competing with Netflix, you're competing with an iPhone, you're competing with anything really that people give their attention to. So that's really the big paradigm shift of this day and age, is that attention is the new currency. So it's important to understand that. So in order for your content to stand out from this ocean of information and to get a chance to get noticed, you will need to use strategies to attract people's attention. All right, so this is where first impression really matters, because there are so many options out there that if you fail to shine during your 2-second window that people will give you, like the benefit of the doubt, like the first time they come across your content, the first time they see your visual on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, anything, like the first 2 seconds, if you fail to shine during these 2 seconds and to hook people, you will be forgotten, maybe forever. You might get a little bit of a second chance, but you won't get that attention when you try to capture it. So this means that your content needs to blow people's mind. This means that your visuals need to stop the eye in the newsfeed and social media. That means that your titles, your website need to hook people. You need to give them a good reason to click on your video on YouTube, to click on the title of your last blog post. This is non-negotiable. If you fail to do this, you will have a very hard time cutting through. This, it's funny because it's a term that I've heard maybe 50 times this week. Like, how do we cut through? And we are brainstorming about how do we cut through with our content at Canva. Cutting through means cutting through the noise, like cutting through this ocean of information, reaching people, reaching our target with the content we are trying to produce. So this is super, super important. And I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So I have a first questions for you. What are some tips that you have for making a positive first impression? Does anybody want to jump in and share, like, how do you make sure you make a positive first impression to your audience? Don't be shy.
Bold text with keywords, says Galicia.
Okay, so bold text, yeah, optimizing your titles and your main headings. Okay, keywords, like really researching and finding the exact, I would say, strings to play on. Okay, anything else do we have?
Yeah, Claudia says nice images.
Nice
and
images.
Teresa, yeah, Teresa backs it up saying visually appealing.
Yes, definitely. Visually appealing. And this is due to the fact that our brains process visuals way faster than text. I believe the number is 60,000 times faster than text. And I did this, I tried this because I have given a few webinars to organizations about this. I used to do this with my nonprofit. I showed them 2 websites for a few seconds. So they have 5 seconds on website A, website B. And so in 5 seconds, you don't really have time to read anything. You just scroll and then 5 seconds is up. And then I asked them, which website would you buy from? And 100% of the time, they would buy from the website with the best design, because that's what they had the time to process in such a short time. So this demonstrates the uber importance of, yes, indeed, being visually appealing and visually pleasing. Yeah. Do we have something else?
We've got humor. And Rebecca says, be friendly, positive, and give value.
Yep, definitely. Bring value. I will speak about this, but I wouldn't consider this as your first impression. First impression is really like the 2, 3, the 5 first seconds. How do you cut through the noise during these 5 first seconds? The value will come after, but before you can deliver the value, you need to grab people's attention.
And finally, we've got some focus on colors. So using bold colors and color combinations, thinking about those.
Yep. Yeah, indeed. I would put this in under the same bucket as convincing and making that first impression with your visuals. So that's part of your visual identity. Bright colors and bold titles definitely help. So yeah, all great ideas. And thank you for engaging and participating. There will be more opportunities to throw in your ideas. So I really love that you guys are doing it. Also, by all means, if you are not shy and you want to just unmute yourself, this is also an option, just for you to know. All right, continuing. So that was my tip number 1, make a positive first impression, always. Rule number 2 is don't leave. So we're talking about the rules for building communities, building healthy communities, right? I remember, like, I recenter the conversation. So rule number 2 for building healthy communities is not leaving anyone hanging. Okay, and so for that, I have a story. So have you ever found yourself in this situation? You arrive at a party and you don't know anyone at this party. So you come there by yourself. So it's a little bit awkward. You don't know anyone. So what you do, you kind of like analyze the room, you look around, you see people talking in little groups, trying to look for familiar face. You cannot find one. So you don't know anyone in this room. So after a while and hesitating, scanning the room, you decide to throw yourself into the water and approach a group of people who look friendly, right? So you make your way up to them, you reach out your hand to give someone a handshake, but that other person doesn't, like, she ignores you. She doesn't seem to return the handshake. How would that make you feel? So probably not so good, because you made the effort, you went all the way, you reached your hand and you wanted to be social and integrate, but I mean, it didn't work. So, well, remember that feeling. The next time someone posts something in your Facebook group or writes a comment on your latest YouTube video, you know, they take the time, they do the effort, they leave you a message, and crickets. You don't respond, you don't react. That's pretty bad. So if you can manage to not leave anyone hanging, it's really going to play into your advantage. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that don't ignore anyone, don't leave them hanging. Somebody make the effort of posting, commenting in your community. Therefore, it is kind of like your duty. You have to honor that person's effort by commenting back, by thanking them. You know, thank the people who are in your audience. Thank your followers for giving their opinion. Just realize that they are kind of doing you a favor of reacting to your content, joining your community. That's ultimately what you want. So be grateful, be thankful, and don't leave anyone hanging. That's really one of the golden rules. When somebody asks a question, in particular, try to provide the best answer possible. And it is possible, as your community grows, that people will ask a question that has already been asked a dozen times. But it doesn't matter, because the person asking the question doesn't know that, doesn't know she's the 12th person asking the same thing. When somebody asks us, hey, Ronny, when is curve text coming? And that's the 100th person asking me. I have to answer with the same energy as the first time I answered that question, right? So this is super important. Also, make it a habit to welcome the newest members of your community. Make them feel comfortable and secure, so that what happened at that party doesn't happen when somebody joins your Facebook group. You know, joining a Facebook group can be intimidating, can be not comfortable, because you get there, you're not sure if you should be there. Maybe you're already part of like 25 Facebook groups and you're just checking the vibe, and you might as well leave very quickly if this is not for you. So when somebody joins your Facebook group, by all means, welcome them, make them feel comfortable, let them know they have come to the right place. And so for that, of course, Facebook is great, because you can have like the welcome posts, the welcome messages. You can tag people every time you have a certain number. You can tag up to 300 people in a welcome message. At Canva, we use these welcome messages in our communities to let people know what content is there for them. Like, for example, you can link back to some of the posts that you have published this week. You can link back to a newbie guides with different pieces of information that might be relevant for someone new in that community. So by all means, yeah, make it a habit to welcome new members in your community. And yeah, you can apply this rule to all your channels, not just a Facebook group or community. It is your responsibility as the leader of the tribe to respond to every person that communicates with you. And don't get me wrong, this will get overwhelming. Like, when your community grows, sometimes I receive 5 to 10 Facebook friend requests per day. I receive messages on Messenger from people I don't know all the time, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. So you will get solicited a lot. And that's okay. If you grow and if your audience grows, will come a time where you humanly cannot answer to every single comment. But if you're trying to build your community, if you're trying to get there, by all means, take the time to do it, because this is how you become, you are being perceived as somebody who cares, right? So go to every email that people wrote to you, every messenger message, every message is left on your Facebook page, Facebook group, Instagram DMs, LinkedIn messages. Maybe you have a course and people ask you a question, or testimonials that people leave to your courses or your products or your services. Answer everything. Do not leave any stone unturned when you're trying to build that community, because this is where you will stand out from the other community leaders, from the other businesses, or the other thought leaders. You will score some points if you answer every single messages. This is a strategy I have been using for my own business, for Canva at the beginning. And this is what I also try to ask from the community managers who run our communities currently. Answer to everything and over deliver in your answers. All right, so yes, answer to everything. So that's kind of like wrapping it up. Point number 2, which was sorry, don't leave anyone hanging. Yeah. So do we have any questions about what we've seen so far? If not, I have a little reflection here, which is, how do you welcome people in your community? Any insight about this? Like those of you who run communities, how do you usually celebrate your new members? Do you have any particular techniques?
We've got a question from Galicia. Do you think the same tips can be applied to Instagram communities?
So I'm not an Instagram expert, but I've seen my partner Diana building her community there, and definitely answering the DMs when they are relevant definitely works. Yes. So of course, every platform will have its subtleties and mechanics, but yeah, I think the big lines will apply of not leaving anyone hanging. You know, this is a rule that will apply on any platform.
Aisha says, make a new intro post to welcome your new followers. One of the strategies.
How frequently do you create welcome posts, may I ask?
I'm just waiting for Aisha to reply to that. We've got another question from Jean D.
Yep.
Where do you get the energy to do all that? Like, what do you do when you're a bit low on batteries?
You go to sleep. I don't know. It is difficult and it is time consuming. So basically, in one word, where do I get the energy? It's linked to my why. You know, you're like, why are you doing this? I am finding a lot of satisfaction in helping people. And when people get back to me with some amazing results they might have achieved because they've watched our YouTube videos, or they have consumed a piece of content in the design circle that inspired them, and they found a client because of maybe one thing we helped with, a tutorial or a series of tutorial, or just inspiring them to design more with Canva. So this is really what fuels me. Like this is where the energy comes from. The day this stops, I might be less motivated, but I feel like empowering people to pursue their own passion. And I believe Canva is a powerful tool that does that. It allows people to really start a business and avoid going on a regular 9-to-5 that might not be as fun, you know, like, so that's really what fuels me. What do I do when I need to recharge the batteries? And you do need that. I had gone through some phases where I was taking on too much, especially when I started at Canva. I wanted to make a positive first impression at Canva. So by working a lot, by really over-delivering and all this stuff, and I was trying to continue running my own business that I had managed for 10 years. So I was taking on too much, and then that slowly drains you of your energy. So understanding your limits is a very important one. There's a thing called the entrepreneurial roller coaster. Like one day you will be on top of the mountain and like everything will align and you love your job, and the next day you feel like crap because something happens and you just don't want to get out of bed. So that's the emotional roller coaster of being an entrepreneur. So there are some important like health mechanisms that you should have. Like you should have bounce back mechanism, like people you can share with. A community of like-minded entrepreneurs is super important, hence the power of a community. Sharing that with a partner, like I had the chance that my partner was also my business partner, so we could lift each other up when we were feeling down. So all of these things. But yeah, make some time in your busy schedule to recharge the batteries. Don't try to think you are invincible, because nobody is. At some point you will burn out. So yeah.
For sure. Aisha came back about the welcome posts. Aisha doesn't do them, but sees other people do them and thinks that they do them based on follower count. So when they get to 1,000 followers or 5,000.
Right. Yes. So a word or two about welcome posts, because I believe it's a very good strategy for a Facebook group. I'm more of a Facebook group expert, so don't know too much about Insta. I know about YouTube as well, but it's slightly different. Let's talk about welcome posts in a Facebook group. So Facebook allows you to create a post and tag up to 300 people. For some groups, it might be 100. It used to be 100. It switched to 300. So what it does is that, because you can tag, and Facebook will tag people automatically. You don't have to manually tag 300 people, which would take you an hour. So you just go to your members section of your group, and then you will see this on the right side normally. Like you will see a message from Facebook, 255 people joined your group this week, create a welcome post. You click that button and Facebook will auto-generate a post, which will be blank, with everyone who is recently joined your group tagged already in that post. So it's up to you really to use this as you wish. So the obvious thing to do would be to say, hey, welcome new members. We love to have you here. Tell us who you are, blah, blah, blah. That's the basics. That's what everybody does. But what you can do is to use this opportunity, use this free boost in your reach, in your visibility, to push a specific piece of content. Of course, you can welcome people, first 2 lines, but then push your latest tutorial, or push a survey, or push whatever you want to push, but use this free visibility that Facebook gives you to promote a specific piece of content. Or if you want to go next level, and you can observe that in the Canva design circle, Ed, who is the community manager, does that wonderfully. Like use the welcome post to provide links to specific resources you think might be useful to newcomers, but also some of the latest posts, or some of the posts you want to bring more views to. So typically a design circle welcome post will be, hey, Canva Wizard, super happy to have you in the community. Here are a few resources that we think will help you get started. So a link to a guide, which is a playlist of content, a link to the latest Tip Talk episode with Hadas, a link to the latest, I don't know, a Canva Space event schedule, so that you can register for these webinars that we are doing. And like this, yeah, you can really use the welcome post, and you can put as many links as you want. So use a URL shortener to, like bit.ly, for example, to shorten your links so they look nice and tidy, create some paragraph in your welcome post. And on top of that, add an appealing visual. So apply all the rules, like make a positive first impression and provide value. That is a really powerful welcome post strategy. So strong visual that will get people attention, Facebook tagging system that will get the free reach, and then provide value with links, really put yourself in a newcomer's shoes. Like, what do I want to learn here? Where should I start? That's something like people usually say when they join a group, which is already like 50,000 or plus members. Where should I start? So just show them the way.
Great. That's a great answer. Thank you. We do have one last question,
Yep.
which was, Ronny, do you know a way to filter people who want to join your group besides making them answer questions?
So Facebook gives you a few options there to filter in the group. You can filter all the people who have applied to become a member by how long have they been on Facebook. Usually, if you see someone with a very, very, very recent, like I think you can filter by less than 3 months, less than a year. So people who have been less than 3 months on Facebook should be something you look into a bit deeper, because it might be a fake account. So you can filter people like this. You can filter people by, do they have a profile picture? If they don't have a profile picture, you might not want to let them in the group, because they might, like people who are hiding behind, how do you say this? Being an anonymous user is usually not a great sign, anonymity. So you can filter like this. You can also filter by how many other groups are they part of. If you see someone part of 5,000 groups, it's probably someone who is just trying to maybe promote a link or something like that, like, you know, in the group spam. So there are these options. Other ways to do this is to have a private group. Well, the design circle is a private group, but you can maybe only promote the group to certain people. Like if you have a course or a membership, you can only accept people in that group that come from this membership. So therefore use the 3 questions to use some kind of system with like a password or something, like where like, why, how did you arrive here? And, you know, and only accept the people who have arrived on an invite or something. All right, well, I will keep moving. We have covered 2 of the rules. Make a positive first impression and don't leave anyone hanging. I think it's time to move on to rule number 3, which is bring value. So the number 1 mistake people do when trying to build a community is that they are being salesy. This is probably the worst thing you can do. And it's understandable, because a lot of starting online entrepreneurs are confused about how they will start earning money. It might not be clear to them. It might be because they lack experience online, or because their business model, or just because they simply don't have a clue. So they have a product to sell, and they view building a community as yet another channel, another way to promote their product, right? So if selling is the real motivation behind you building a community, this will probably end badly. It's because people don't like to be sold to. Let's face it, people don't like ads. People don't like to be sold to. We are interrupted by so many ads every day that we don't tolerate being sold to when we are not expecting it. And by that, I mean that people expect to see an ad on YouTube before they start their video, you know, the skip ad thing. They expect to see ads when they go to the movie theater, and before the main movie begins, they expect to see ads. And because they expect to see them, they know what to do. Like they know how to skip the ad after 5 seconds on YouTube, or they know how to grab their phone and live their life until the movie begins. But on the other hand, if you invite them to check out your amazing community where they expect to find some interesting debates and valuable content, but instead they hear you pitch your product over and over, it won't take long until they go somewhere else. And that is because you have failed to deliver what they were expecting. And I want to bring that to a personal example. Bring you way back when I started my Facebook group, Learn to Design with Canva. So before working at Canva, if you remember my story, the first slides I showed you, like I told you, like I created a community to support the students in my course. And so I was one of these confused beginner online entrepreneurs at this point. Like, I thought, okay, I'm going to create this group, and so I can talk about my courses and people will go and buy them on Udemy. So I was a bit confused, and I didn't really know how to bring more people to my course, because it really works like this. If you want your course to be successful on a platform like Udemy, you have to get more people to buy it, of course, but also get more people to leave you a positive review and to actually consume your course. So I started to use the Facebook group, not all the time. I was also bringing value, but it was a mix of me talking about the courses. I would create a tutorial, but in the middle of the tutorial, I would have like kind of like an ad, hey guys, I also have this course, blah, blah, blah. So I was interrupting users with the different courses. I was trying to sell my courses. And I noticed that instead of doing this, instead of pushing and promoting, I should probably focus on bringing value to the people in my community by creating content. And when I understood that, this shift in the mentality, it became so much more natural. To be honest, I didn't like to push. I didn't like to sell. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed bringing value. I enjoyed, answering people's questions in the group. I didn't enjoy selling my course, but I thought I had to do it, because otherwise, how would people find it? So this could be confusing, and I completely understand if you are confused as well, but just put yourself in the shoes of someone joining that community and how they will perceive you if you keep on pushing. So of course, I'm not saying you should never push, but people need to know what you're selling. But that's what your bio is for. That's what your about page is for. That's what your announcement section of your Facebook group is for. Like one of my favorite entrepreneur and kind of motivational speaker, Gary Vaynerchuk, often says, let your profile do the selling. So this is something very important that I learned to I learned to apply more and more in my life. It is super important that you have a clear call to action, but the call to action doesn't need to be something you push all the time. So optimize your profiles, all of your profiles, not just Facebook. Optimize your LinkedIn profile, your IG profile, your Twitter profile, your Facebook profile. Optimize everything. Figure out what is that tagline, what is that image that you will be using, your profile picture, your banner, the link you will leave there. Insta gives you one link, but with a little bit of strategy, you can use Linktree or Canva websites to multiply these links. Facebook allows you several links. So what are you going to link to there? And what is going to be that tagline that people read when they click on your profile? And most importantly, how do you bring people to your profile? So this idea is that you bring value to people. And if you truly help them, they will want to find out more about you. They will want to click on your picture, and then they will land on your profile, and they will discover what you are selling. So let your profile do the selling. Do not pitch. Focus on bringing value. So that was my point number 3, bring value. Now I want to bring it up to you again and questions. How do you bring value to your community?
Okay, let's see. Any suggestions of how you're bringing value to your community? While we're waiting for some replies, we do have a question from Katya, who was asking, is it okay to ask a member of the group to help administrate as well and maybe do some of those welcome posts or something?
It might be okay, but you have to respect people's time. Like, you have to understand their incentives and motivation for doing so. So if you are going to tap into your community for certain things, you have to always think about what you can give back. Like, what's in it for them? because it's really easy to identify one of the high value members, someone who answers a lot of questions, and ask them, hey, would you like to become an admin? But what's in it for them? So yes, it is okay, but try to really have a clear vision of what is the value you are bringing them.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so we do have a few suggestions now for how to bring value to your community. Darren says to help them solve problems. Teresa suggests ask them engaging questions. Yep, and also making weekly tutorials.
Definitely. So let's unpack these three things. So Darren says to answer questions, right?
Or help them solve problems. Yep.
Help them solve problems. Okay. This little sentence here is full of value already. So how do you help your audience solve problems? Well, first you need to understand who that audience is. Otherwise, how would you know what their problems are? So this opens up the door of like an entire course, an entire webinar in itself. Like, how do you understand your audience? So that's step one of building anything, any type of business. Understand who you're talking to. Otherwise, how would you know what to say? So yeah, you really need to understand your audience. There are lots of ways of doing this, especially in communities. So engage with them. Ask more questions, like generally be interested in understanding what are their challenges, what are their dreams, why are they doing what they do, what are they struggling with on a regular basis, what do they wish they knew 2 years ago. These kind of things will help you figure out what you can bring them, like what content you need to produce. Then somebody said, answering people's questions. That is the easiest way to build your personal brand. People have questions. Like any Facebook group, you will find a lot of questions. I'm going to give you a trick. You can search a Facebook group for its content. So you don't even need to start the community. It's better if it's yours, but you can participate in other Facebook groups that are not yours and search, use the search functionality in the group and search for the word question, for example, or the word, does anybody know? Or like little keywords like this that people might use in a question, you know, or any idea, like, you know, keywords like this, you search for that and Facebook will help you surface the post with the questions. And so what you can do is you can start engaging, you can start answering these questions if you know the answer. Same if it's your community. So answering people's questions and not just answering them so it's done. Put your heart into it, like go a little bit further, a little bit deeper. So that will work. And then the last thing I heard was creating a tutorial every week. So what does that mean? It means consistency. If you want your content to be perceived as value, you know, there is this thing, it takes 7 touch points with your audience so that they really start understanding what you do, who you are, what value you bring them. 7 touch points. So it's not about creating one tutorial and then you're good to go, you're the guru. No, it's about creating regular content, bring regular value on a regular basis. So this is where consistency really comes into, like, it really comes as the one thing you have to figure out. How many pieces of content am I able to deliver every week to my audience? Be realistic. Like creating a YouTube video every day is probably not sustainable. So find your number, like your frequency, your cadence, and stick to it. This is really like, so we have with Diana, we have a YouTube channel also talking about Canva. And this channel for a long time didn't grow very fast. Like I think the first 6 months, 230 subscribers. Then after that, the first year after that, the first full year, 2,500 subscribers. And then we started to get serious, like let's create a video every Tuesday. And then when we did that, the year after that, 35,000 subscribers. So this is when it really started to explode because we were becoming regular And people noticed that. So they started to subscribe to the channel because they didn't want to miss the next tutorial. So yeah, consistency is key.
Great, that's it for now. Teresa did suggest ask engaging questions as well.
Yes, definitely. So that's kind of the opposite of answering the question, is asking questions. And there is a lot of strategy behind how do you get engagement in your group. So asking questions is definitely one of these good strategies. So yeah, definitely agree. Generally caring about the members, the audience, I think is kind of like the underlying concept behind this. Like, yeah, also it's about asking questions. Be careful about not asking engagement question for the sake of engagement, because this can be perceived and, you know, like, okay, what, like, you have to bring, like, the question needs to genuinely care or genuinely like have the idea of bringing more value, but don't just ask a random question because you need a piece of content for the day. That's my advice. All right, let's continue. Thank you, Jess, for the questions. And thank you guys for asking the questions. I enjoyed that. All right, rule number 4 is to show up often. So newsflash, building a community takes time, right? And repeated efforts. So it's not going to happen overnight. I told you that if you want people to keep coming back and engage with your community, you need to give them a good reason to do so. So your job as the tribe leader, the community manager, is to understand what sparks your audience, what sparks the engagement in the group, to understand what type of content will benefit that audience, and what will generate the debates or what will get them to react when you create your content. So that is really important that you understand that. So let me give you a few tips here. So in order to create content that is relevant to your audience and keep the conversation going, you will have to be really fully present. So it will require you to be there, you to show up regularly. When I was building this Facebook group, I would spend between 2 and 3 hours a day in that group. It was usually the first thing I did in the morning. I just check the group, start answering, and then come back later and then do it again. So you will have to be fully present. Like, it's almost a full-time job. Between that and the content, it takes a lot of time. So how do you generate the engagement? Well, you hang out in your tribe, in your group. You spend time in there. You answer people's questions. We already talked extensively about this. You reply to people's comments. Sometimes it's not questions, it's just comments. Like, oh, I love the tutorials. Don't leave that hanging either. You know, when I said don't leave anyone hanging, also don't leave anything hanging. So I kind of had this secret rule of you never have the last word. So don't be the one that has the last word. Always ask one more thing, or always react in one more way. I spend a lot of time currently on Sunday morning, usually answering people's comment on the YouTube channel, because first it brings me satisfaction to see how people learn from the tutorial we put out, but also because I feel this connection with our audience at this moment when I read their comments and I answer them. And most of the comments are, oh, I love your content. Thank you so much for sharing. Sometimes it's a variation of this, but even these comments, I write back, even if it's an emoji, just one emoji, like the emoji with the hearts or anything, but it shows them that you care. It shows them that you're here, that this comment has been seen, has been heard, and that is engagement. So do that. And ask more questions, yes. So don't let them have the last word, like always ask something more. Nurture genuine conversations and relationships. It is important. You don't have to fake it, like just be genuinely interested. And these things will take time. So it will force you to come back over and over to the community. All right, so the result of this is that when people see that you take the time to reply to every comment and answer every question, when they see that you are accessible and that you truly care, then they will start to like you, which is the first step. Because what you want really is this. You want them to know you first, to recognize you. So that's the 7 touch points I was talking about. And you want them to like you. That's what we just covered. And then ultimately, what you want is you want them to trust you. Like Canva trusted me. They trusted that I would be the right person to help building the Canva community. So therefore, they tried to hire me. Or when you see someone delivering a ton of value on YouTube or whatever, like when you see a Peter McKinnon talking about photography and creating tutorials every week, then you trust that guy. When you see a MKBHD, Marcus Brown, I forgot his name, but the tech reviewer, super famous on YouTube, when you see him talking about the latest iPhone, you trust him because he has brought this value consistently since he was 15 years old, and he was doing it with a webcam in his bedroom. And now he has 17 million followers, subscribers on YouTube. So you trust is really where you want to get. But before you get there, yeah, you need to go through this know, like, and trust formula, which is crucial. And you get there by bringing value to people consistently, having them to like you, to know, like, and trust you. So there is no shortcut to this. You cannot get or you cannot buy trust. This is something you really need to develop. And I want to give you some examples. Like, for example, the work I had done in our Facebook group, so prior to joining Canva, but also at Canva, I guess. Let's talk about Canva instead. So I've been developing this relationship with our Canva certified creatives, these brand ambassadors that we have. And some of them might be watching right now, so just hi to you. Just earlier this morning, I was talking to Thea, who is one of our CCCs from Scotland. She's an educator. And she took the call. It was 9:30 p.m. for her. It was early for me too. It was 7:30 a.m. But she bothered taking my call, and I interviewed her for something I'm working on. But she did it because she knew me. She hopefully liked me. And she trusts me that I'm doing this for building something bigger. I'm doing this not just because I want like free stuff, free content from her. I'm doing this because I am building a program that might be beneficial for more people. So she trusts that this is for a bigger purpose. And really, I have built this trust relationship with a lot of our brand ambassadors. And this is super useful for Canva as a company, as a brand, because I can be the bridge between these people and the company. I used to be a CCC as well. So this trust that you build, it's not based on one or two things. And a lot of my colleagues might not have this trust yet because they haven't taken the time to build these relationships. So I hope this illustrates what I'm trying to say here. And it could be the same in your community. Like you will bring value via your Facebook community, via your YouTube channel. And the more you bring that value, ultimately, the more trust you will receive. You will be perceived as the go-to person in that specific niche that you're talking about, in that specific audience that you're trying to serve. They will see you as the guy who consistently brings value. Therefore, they will know, like, and trust you. So the day you are pushing, or even sometimes you don't have to push, you let your profile do the selling. If they really trust you enough, they will check your profile, they will discover that you have a course to sell, and they will go ahead and buy it. And they will leave you a 5-star review, and they will thank you again in the comments, because it's a win-win situation. So yeah, super important, know, like, trust formula. I hope I kind of shed the light on what you have to do. And again, like I'm right here by the water cooler. trying to spark the conversation. So how do you spark engagement in your community? I'm curious.
Teresa added a link in the chat, just in terms of finding questions to answer that might be useful to the community. Answerthepublic.com. Do you know that one?
Yes.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Answer the Public is a website where basically you can do a little bit of SEO research. So you would type in a keyword or a sentence. For example, if you put in Canva tutorial, for example, then Answer the Public will generate a graph with a lot of suggested search terms or keywords or sentences. So that could be super useful for understanding what content to create, what people are searching for. Yeah, so very good suggestion.
Excellent. I think we might be good to move on.
Yeah, no questions, no reaction. I'd love to
Pia
hear
just
how
came
you...
in. Yeah, Pia just came in with a suggestion to vote on something.
To vote, yes, very, very good. Like engagement in terms of asking for people's opinion. People love to share their opinion, as long as it's easy to do so. So if you ask them to share an opinion about something which might require them to write a long piece of text, might not work. But if you give them like A or B, which one do you prefer, like red or blue? This works wonderfully. Like engagement techniques and strategies is definitely something I recommend in order for you to build up the engagement or your community as a whole. So make sure you include this in your content strategy, like once or twice a week, have some simple question that will spark engagement. We call them engagement posts. So that could be, where are you from? And that was one of my most popular posts when I started my Facebook community. Where are you from? Like 300 comments. Of course, it's super easy. And when you see like 25 people already answered and put an emoji with the flag or, you know, a GIF, then people want to join the party and just have fun. And when you see someone from the same country, you're like, oh, really? I'm also from Belgium. And then the conversation starts. So think about very easy engagement questions that might get people talking, like icebreakers, and use that as a strategy to spark engagement. Very good. Anything else that works for you to spark the conversation, spark engagement in your community?
Jean suggested to talk about what's trending.
Yeah, talking about trends, some stuff going on in the world, some internet trends, I would say, or memes or whatever. This could be super relevant as well. This is something we're trying to do more at Canva as well with our content. Yeah, definitely. This gets people talking. Like if it's the last episode of Game of Thrones, next Monday, everybody will be talking about Game of Thrones. So talk about Game of Thrones. Why not? Any last thing?
Not for the moment, I think.
All right, so all good to go. Let's move on to rule number 5 of building a healthy community. Very simple rule, be kind. So want to illustrate this principle. There's really not much to it, like just be kind. But one of the kindest person I had the chance to get close to is the Dalai Lama. So this is a photo of me in a trip to India a few years back. And they were holding this opportunity for anyone really who wanted to come and visit the Dalai Lama in his main residence in the north of India. So I went there. There was a teaching, like he spoke to everybody, like not one-on-one, but he was giving kind of like not a webinar, but like a teaching, which was very interesting. And then after that, there was a photo opportunity and groups were divided by regions of the world, I believe. So this probably is Europe. And yeah, I had a chance to be in contact. But what I want to say here is not particularly about Buddhism or religion, but there's a quote from him who is, "My religion is very simple. My religion is kindness." So I'm showing you this because I believe this really applies to trying to build a community. I believe, like, by being nice is non-negotiable. Like, you cannot let your emotions get in the way if you're trying to build a community, to build something bigger than yourself. So I'm going to show you a few tips on how we practice being nice with our communities at Canva. And you will see a couple of different community managers here that I wanted to feature. So always use polite language. So don't swear, don't use the F word or any other curse word. There's no need for that, okay? I'm not saying I never use these words in my own life. I'm no Ned Flanders, but there's no need to use them publicly in your community, right? So be polite. That's the first thing. Second would be to keep your cool at all times. I am somebody with a hot temper. I'm not gonna lie, I burst sometimes, but again, there's no need to lose your temper in public. So even though something or someone is irritating you in the community, remain calm and polite, okay? Remember that story of the person who asked the question for the 12th time? So that's that, like, remain cool. Yep, next would be to never judge people. So yeah, this ties into the 12th question. So the more your community grows, the more diversity you will have in your audience. So the more opinions you'll have in your audience. So sometimes people will come to you with a newbie question. You probably answered a dozen times, but that's okay. They have all the rights to be treated as well as the first person who ever asked the question. Or there might be someone who disagrees with you. And that might be a person who, like, systematically disagrees with you or has, like, very precise questions and will question everything you do. But that's all right. This will test your patience for sure, but remain cool and don't judge people. So respect people's opinion, be patient, give the same energy to everybody. That's super important. And finally, yeah, always take the time to say thank you. This is probably the word I use the most as a community manager, is thank you. You know, it's so easy to do. It goes a long way and it makes people feel like they have been acknowledged, like their contribution has been appreciated. And you can use the tools that we have at our disposal, like use Facebook tagging system to tag the name of the user you want to thank or you want to say thank you to. And this way you make sure that that person will actually see your thank you because you tag her or you tag him in that post. So that's really what there is to it, being nice. Again, I know I'm poking you all the time, but what are some other techniques that you are using to be nice to your community? So what's been working for you?
You might have noticed that we had a tip there. I think it was tip number 2 from another one of our community managers, Rebecca.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's got some tips on, well, one of them was her tips there. Have you got any more tips, Rebecca, on how to be nice to your community? Jean suggests keeping in touch.
Yes, keeping in touch. Super important. I think I have some slides about this, so I will not extend now on this, but it's in the last, the last rule. Yep.
Yeah, we have a question. When people break the rule of conduct, how do you react?
That's a very good question. And thank you for bringing that topic because it's not included in my presentation, but it is something that I really found super valuable while building communities at Canva, is to have clear rules and guidelines for your community. Because if you don't, then the boundaries are blurry and it's hard to take action to solve an ongoing problem or situation if you don't have clear boundaries. If people don't know what's wrong or right, then how do you enforce any type of action? So by having clear boundaries, AKA your group's rules, then you can refer to them and say, hey, user, you broke this rule, and therefore we are removing you from the group, or therefore this is your last warning. You cannot spam in this group. Spamming is a no, like spamming you out. Like what's the rule I use is like, you spam, we ban. So it's simple, you spam, we ban, because it's not about self-promotion. And usually like the spam is really shameless plugs like, hey, you can make money with Bitcoin. So just ask this guru, he will teach you everything. Just this is deleted, you just ban the user from your group. So depending on what is the infraction, I would say, like what is the rule that has been broken, first you need a public set of rules that people can refer to. And Facebook does that very well. So you have your group rules, and in the 3 questions, you can, one of the questions could be, have you read the rules? And yes or no, like, so they will therefore read the rules. They are right under the 3 questions. You can refer to the rules. It will be in your About tab in your Facebook group to people. And then, so having a clear set of rules, and then just not hesitating to, when people break these rules, to let them know. And if it's really like a serious violation of the rule, or if it's like spamming, you just ban the person, because they don't care. They're part of a 100th Facebook group, and they post the same message, and they know they will be banned. They don't care. They just, it's a volumes game. I don't understand why people still do this. I don't see anyone falling for that, but if they continue, there must be a good reason. So yeah, having clear sets of rules will help you maintain order in the community for sure.
Fantastic, thank you. And we do have some other suggestions around positive acknowledgements. So providing nice feedback if you see someone's work is really good, and also acknowledging birthdays and achievements and sharing positive stories.
Yep, definitely. This is all good stuff. The birthday thing, it might work when you're small, but if you have like 50,000 people in your group, then you'll have birthdays like by the dozens. But yeah, but acknowledging positive and giving positive feedback is super important. And I remember some of our CCCs like pointing that to me, like, hey Ronny, I spent half of my day creating this video to collaborate with Canva. I'd love to get acknowledged for that, like, give people the proper the proper recognition, make them feel that like what they have done matters, acknowledge the work they've put in. All of this is really good, and it's super important. Sometimes I myself, like, I omitted to do it thoroughly, and they told me. So yeah, don't overlook this aspect of the work. All right, I'll keep moving on. I think we have 12 minutes. I do want to take more Q&As. So the last point will be this one here. Rule number 6, so last but not least, exceed their expectations. So this one is a little bit less like known, but it does work. So if you give your absolute best, you are most likely to exceed people's expectation. And this is when the crazy things really start to happen. Indeed, people will never bother telling their friends about an okay movie. Oh yeah, I went to see this okay movie. No. Or this reasonably good restaurant. Nobody tells you about this. You will tell your friend about this amazing restaurant where you cannot wait to go back, or this hilarious movie that made you laugh so hard. So what I'm trying to say is that average stuff doesn't make the cut. So don't settle for average. If you want people to love you and refer you to their friends, you have to be above average. And there are many ways to do that. One way, for example, is to keep track of the people who reach out to you via email, DM, or in the group, for example. So someone mentioned that earlier, follow up. So do your best to answer their question when they have a question, but then if you really want to go the extra mile, you can set a reminder in your phone, in your calendar, to follow up with user in a few weeks and see how they are progressing on that project they're working on. So ask them how things are moving forward with their project. This will come completely out of the blue for them. They don't expect that, but will for sure exceed their expectations. And they will leave with a very strong impression of you, like someone who truly cared and remembered, oh yeah, I'm working on this. So how did this workshop go after it's done? If somebody reaches out to you, hey, Ronny, I'm working on a workshop. What would be a good template in Canva that you suggest for a presentation for, I don't know, for a tech company? And then you help them, you answer the question, and then you put a reminder, like in a week's time, the webinar is behind that person. And then you follow up like, hey, Jess, how did this session with Ronny go? And then Jess will feel like, wow, he remembered. That's one way of scoring points. Another one is to give people very detailed feedback when they submit a question or a design, for example, if they want to share their designs and ask for feedback. Hey, how's my design? Like, what can be improved? Instead of saying, yeah, I would change the font, like you can go full on and give them a very detailed review of what could be improved and give them like thorough feedback. It happened that I sometimes use this technique, and I did an entire tutorial, a video tutorial to answer a question. It's good because you don't have to search for your content. Like, what am I going to talk about in my next tutorial? Just grab a question and answer it as best as you can. And then you, of course, link back the link to your tutorial in this question. And the user will feel, oh, he made a video just for me. So this has helped me turn many community members into super fans, actually, like showing them you're going the extra mile. So give people some extra unexpected attention, even for a very short amount of time. For example, if you see that someone is leaving you a comment on a specific piece of content, click on their profile, try to learn a thing or two about them, like see what moves them, what makes them tick. Find this one precise thing that you can mention back to them. This will blow their mind. And they will realize that you did the effort of researching who they are, and you've consumed a little bit of their content. This works especially well on LinkedIn, for example. So people have their profile, their bio, their everything. Just find this one thing, not the obvious thing, like find, and people are doing this wrong. Like, hey, Ronny, I know you like communities, so let's connect. Yeah, of course I like communities, that's my title. So just find this more precise piece of information or facts about the person and bring that up. Yeah, so it's kind of like the end of the presentation. So always try to go the extra mile. This has worked for me. It will work for you, believe me. And that wraps it up. Like that's the end of my prezo. So I'm super happy to take any questions you might have. Still here. So go ahead, shoot for them. And before I finish, I want to remind people that we have a feedback form. So if you enjoyed this presentation or if you hated it, it's also good to know. Scan this QR code, it will lead you to a form, and you can leave us a feedback about our Canva Space sessions. This is still like very new to us, and we want to provide the best experience. So by all means, if you can, leave us a feedback.
Absolutely, and I'll put that link in the chat as well. We do have a question. For all these activities, do you schedule a window time to engage with your community, or do you do it round the clock?
I was doing it round the clock. Yeah, it's really up to you. I don't have kids. I was pretty flexible with my time, so it might not be your case. For example, I know Rebecca has kids, and of course, life depends. Situations depend, and you also have kids, just so you might not be available around the clock. And also, you should set some boundaries, and you will learn that. Before, I used to answer comments in my bed when I wake up in the morning, when I fall asleep. It just gets out of control. So like try to set some rules for yourself as well. Like, for example, I try not to touch my phone before I go to the gym in the morning and come back and have breakfast, and then I check my phone, yeah, so be careful about this, but you can also set some dedicated time. But communities don't work like this, especially when they grow big and international. You might have users in the US waking up when you go to sleep. What happens with them? So if you set some time, make sure it's not always at the same time of the day. So be kind of trying to browse the spectrum of time zones.
Fantastic, thank you. Quick ask here, how do you make Facebook font bold?
Okay, that's a common question, I would say. Let me stop sharing. I guess we can stop sharing for now. Is the camera on me?
It is, yeah, we can see you.
Okay, good. Yeah, so in a Facebook group, you have these formatting options. It's just built in a Facebook group. Not sure about Facebook pages, and definitely not on Facebook profiles. So sometimes people see I bold the text in the group and they don't get it. They don't understand how I did this. It's just super easy. Facebook gives you a formatting option when you write your post. Otherwise, there's a hack, like there's a website. If you Google bold Facebook post or something like that, it's a very ugly website. It looks green. And then you can paste your text, and then you can bold, italic, and all different types of things. You can try to play around with this, but it's not supported on every single device. So if you look on an iPad, it might just become like all squares or something. So I don't vouch for this. If you really want to do it, like try it, but yeah, don't recommend it.
All right, any more questions? Put them in the chat right now. Got a lot of thanks coming through. All of this was very helpful. Thank you. Gave me some good thoughts.
That's good to hear. And also, by all means, if you're not part of our Canva communities, go ahead and try to search for the Canva Design Circle, which is our main design community with Ed is in there and Hadas is in there, and they bring a ton of value. So tutorials, conversations, you will find inspiration, some Canva hacks. I learned something new today, like how to add glitter into your titles, your letters and everything, like to create in Canva. I thought this was impossible. Somebody found a hack. So it's right there. It's got 500 likes and reactions so far. So it's on good track to break records. But yeah, a ton of value in the Canva Design Circle.
Yeah, really good point. Last question. Well done. You snuck one in. How about the name of a group using the Canva word?
Yep, good question. Be careful about this, because we do have some guidelines about our trademark and logo use. So it's better to avoid it if you can, because yeah, this is a privilege that we give only to our CCCs and under certain circumstances. So if you try to create a group called Canva England or Canva Sydney, it's probably going to get poorly perceived by our legal department, and they might ask you to change the name or ask Facebook to take it down, because you're not supposed to use Canva's trademark in your URL or in your group name. In order to avoid confusion, we don't do it to bother you. We avoid it to avoid confusion for our users. People sometimes use the Canva logo and create a group called Canva Brazil. And so it creates confusion for us as the brand as to, is this an official group? We don't want our users to be confused.
Yeah, fair enough. Another question from Katia: is becoming a CCC by invitation only?
Okay, good question. I get this question all the time. So we are working on a faster and more explicit process for anyone who wants to become involved in our community program to do this. So we will have some updates on this that we will communicate in the design circle once it's ready. Give us a few more weeks, but we will have a clear pathway to become a Canva certified creative with a certification module and courses. So yes, right now we closed the application while we were redesigning the structure of our community programs. We are getting there. So I would say within a month or two, this should be up and going and rolling, and you will have some information about this.
Fantastic. And that brings us to the 11:30 mark here
Perfect.
in Sydney. So I'd like to extend a huge thank you to you, Ronny, for taking us through all of that fantastic content today. That was absolutely brilliant. And I know that everybody found it really useful. So thank you everyone for joining in. We've got lots of nice comments coming through. Thank you for your time. It was great. Thanks for your time. And yes, there are many more workshops coming up, and Ronny is going to be hosting more workshops as well. So absolutely stay tuned. I'll pop that website for Canva Space in the chat one more time before we leave, because that is where you can see all of our upcoming events. But we look forward to seeing you again at a future Canva Space workshop or webinar. Thank you for joining.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Bye.